Time TV critic Judy Berman's Top 10 Television Series of 2024. In the first season of Pachinko, instead of preserving the chronological structure of Min Jin Lee's sweeping novel about a 20th century Korean family, creator Soo Hugh paired the opening chapters, which take heroine Sunja from her childhood in a fishing village to her early adulthood as an immigrant in Japan, with an expanded story following Sunja's finance guy grandson Solomon in the 1980s. In alternating between two bookends, the series left a void at the heart of the story. Season 2 fills in the book's powerful middle chapters, which trace Sunja's conflicted relationship with her secret lover turned secret benefactor, Mr. Ko, during World War II. Hugh weaves together the family's struggles with a fresh perspective on a conflict that made Korean immigrants suffer for their occupiers' aggression, while also deepening the first season's depiction of Solomon wrestling with his identity, history, ambition, and future. A tale that pits survival against self-sacrifice and legacy against self-determination, this season of Pachinko doesn't just do justice to the contemporary classic on which it's based, it forges new connections and finds new revelations across generations. No one was placing bets on a trauma-driven dramedy adapted from an unknown Scottish creator's semi-autobiographical Edinburgh Fringe Festival show to become Netflix's big 2024 breakout. In fact, the platform barely promoted Baby Reindeer in the US, but such is the magic of Netflix, which, through some unique combination of algorithmic wizardry and word-of-mouth virality, has the power to spawn global hits nobody saw coming. Now the show's mastermind and star, Richard Gadd, is a household name with an armload of awards and an HBO series in the works. It couldn't have happened to a more compelling voice. Nominally a crime drama that fictionalizes his ordeal with a female stalker, his sui generis series is really a journey into a wounded psyche, dissecting everything from Gadd's self-involvement to his history with a sexually abusive mentor. All three major performances are breakthroughs. And also it's funny. Yes, it casts one of the biggest movie stars in the world, Robert Downey Jr., in a quadruple role that collectively represents white supremacy, and yes, he's great, chomping scenery as he spoofs 70s icons like Francis Ford Coppola and Hunter S. Thompson. But what's really remarkable about Park Chan-wook's wild, epic, visually stunning, manically referential, simultaneously hilarious, and gutting adaptation of the Pulitzer-winning novel by Viet Thanh Nguyen is its insight into the Vietnam War, a cataclysm that has shaped identities both Vietnamese and American. Grounded in the chronically ambivalent perspective of the captain, the Sympathizer spans continents as it reckons with what it means to commit to a cause and how a society survives colonialism, war, and internal schism. Not enough people tuned into the series when it aired this past spring. Maybe it sounded like a slog. Actually, it's electrifying, and there's no better time to engage with it than during our nation's anxious holiday interregnum. Genre shows are everywhere. They're practically the only originals we get from platforms like Disney Plus and Prime Video, yet few do justice to the IP on which they're usually based. Interview with the Vampire, the flagship title in AMC's Anne Rice franchise, is the rare reboot that has something new to offer. What began as the warped saga of conflicted vampire Louis and his abusive but devoted maker Lestat evolved in this year's second season into TV's most bizarre love triangle. As we got to know Louis's mysteriously powerful current beau Armand, a capital R romantic spirit suffuses creator Roland Jones's production, which feels emotionally immersive in ways that so much recent entertainment for adults is not. From its evocative post-war Paris flashbacks to the diabolical twists that kept fans screaming with each new episode, Interview might be 2024's most purely pleasurable show. For a few years at the very peak of peak TV, you couldn't browse a streaming service menu without stumbling upon a witty, wise, alternately warm and wry slice-of-life show whose modest scale belied its universal insight. Better Things, Work in Progress, Betty, Vita, Back to Life, Please Like Me, sort of. One of the last such series left standing is Somebody Somewhere, which cast New York alt cabaret doyenne Bridget Everett as a single, unmoored, middle-aged woman in small-town Kansas. A celebration of friendships that become chosen families and intrafamilial feuds that resolve into friendships, it's a show that illustrates how finding community can, slowly but indelibly, change a person's life. Its third and final season, which finds Everett's Sam flirting with romance as her pals Joel and Fred settle down with partners of their own, poignantly captures the familiar fear that everyone in your life is moving forward while you stay stuck in the same stunted place. When reality feels like a fever dream, surreal stories can hit harder than realism. Hence, the haunting humor of Fantasmas, an unconventional sketch comedy about art and survival from the infinite imagination of Julio Torres. The show's fantastical vignettes feature what is easily the year's most delightful guest star lineup: Tilda Swinton, Steve Buscemi, Bowen Yang, executive producer Emma Stone, and more. The frame narrative stars Torres as Julio, a creative wonderkind living in a violet-hued alternate universe New York, whose nebulous career includes gigs like pitching new crayon shades. When a health scare and landlord trouble throw his life into precarity, Julio's situation is exacerbated by his refusal to obtain an invasive new form of ID called proof of existence. His only option is to earn enough money through selling dumb TV show ideas about his gay and Latino identities to live on his own terms. His predicament may be absurd, but as a metaphor for the artist's endless battle against bureaucracy, mediocrity, and poverty, not to mention a sharp commentary on the current TV landscape, it makes perfect sense. It says nothing good about the state of television that filmmaker and actor Mark Duplass, who created Penelope with Mel Eslin, pitched the series around but wound up producing it independently, an unusual model for TV, when no platform would bite. Thankfully, Netflix did license the final product, a dreamlike half-hour drama that follows a teenage girl who abruptly abandons her life of high school and social media to rough it in Cascade National Forest. While it is in part a survival story, Penelope's journey, rendered in vibrant shades of green and generous with moments of silence, is best understood as a spiritual pilgrimage. Like Thoreau, she goes to the woods to live deliberately. What she experiences there recalls both Cheryl Strayed's Wild and Christ's sojourn through the desert. The result is a show that, in immersing us in its heroine's search for meaning, invites our introspection as well. What happened to Jean McConville, the widowed mother of 10 who disappeared in 1972 after being dragged by a masked mob from her Belfast home? This is the question that ostensibly drives FX's adaptation of the acclaimed nonfiction book by Patrick Radden Keefe. But Keefe's story is no simple potboiler, and Say Nothing bears little resemblance to the typical true crime drama. Morally astute, rich in layered characters and insightful performances, and perceptive about how a person's moral calculus can change over the course of a lifetime, the series filters 4 decades worth of the troubles through the experience of Dolores Price, an IRA agitator who spent her later life haunted by the extreme actions she participated in as a young woman. The show's true question is more like who benefits from political violence and who becomes its collateral damage, and the answers it suggests are anything but easy. Industry has always been better than its reputation as that show where arrogant young finance employees in London snort coke, sleep around, and take reckless risks with staggering sums of money. To be fair, that description is not technically incorrect, but this year's 3rd season, amid HBO's conspicuous efforts to position it as a successor to Succession, Mickey Down and Conrad K's propulsive drama leveled up to become one of TV's shrewdest commentaries on the times in which we are living. Opening with the calamitous IPO of a green energy startup managed by the series' fictional banking giant Pierpont & Company, the season took a scalpel to the hypocrisy-prone phenomenon of socially conscious capitalism. At the same time, it zoomed in on some of its most compelling characters: haunted heiress Yasmin, cutthroat company man Eric, toxic striver Rishi. Taken together, the individual storylines and the overarching plot demonstrate how, in an environment like Pierpont, when self-interest conflicts with loyalty, decency, or any other virtue, selfishness always wins. An artistic triumph, a record-breaking 18 Emmy wins, an all-time viewership high for FX. 2 more seasons in development for a title that was planned as a limited series. By just about every conceivable measure, Shogun is the TV success story of 2024. Yet it wasn't a foregone conclusion that the network's $200 million bet on a largely Japanese-language production that was also the second high-profile adaptation of James Clavell's 1975 bestseller about a 17th-century English sailor who washes up in Japan and finds himself at the mercy of a politically isolated feudal lord was going to pay off. At a time when American audiences are assumed to have fragmented along demographic and partisan lines, creators Justin Marks and Rachel Kondo scored a mega hit the old-fashioned way by offering something precious to every kind of viewer. And you'd be hard-pressed to find another show that so stunningly combines lush visuals, masterly performances, and an expressive original score from Atticus and Leopold Ross. As streamers increasingly turn away from ambitious projects in their desperation to get out of the red, perhaps Shogun will resonate across the industry as a reminder that fortune favors the bold.